Hey friends, welcome back to week 3 of Pantry Challenge. This morning I went through and I shopped my freezer and pantry, and I kind of got a few items out of my freezer and pantry that I want to try to use up this week. So the last 2 weeks I kind of didn't really menu plan. I just cooked with what I had or what I wanted, and this week I'm trying to be a little bit more intentional. Now what I'm going to tell you we're going to make, don't hold me to it because it is flexible depending on what I end up doing in the day and if my taste change. Today for breakfast, for meal prep for Josh and I, we are going to do something a little bit different. We are going to do pumpkin spiced steel cut oats. I took some pumpkin out of the freezer that I want to use up. We are going to do a chicken broccoli creamy spaghetti squash. That is my mother-in-law's recipe and it's fantastic. So I'm going to prep some of that. We're not going to finish that recipe today, but we're going to prep it because we're also today for dinner, I want masumam curry. This recipe is fantastic. If you like curry, you're gonna love this recipe. And I want to put some of the spaghetti squash in the curry. And we need to use up some of that quinoa that I made last week. So we're gonna serve this curry over that quinoa and over the spaghetti squash. So since I'm gonna be cooking spaghetti squash in the oven, I might as well cook enough for both curry tonight and for the recipe that we're gonna be making later in the week. These two spaghetti squashes were sitting next to the spaghetti squash that rotted, and these are not rotting, but they definitely are, you know, showing signs that they're looking like they could soon. So we're going to use these up first, and I grabbed a third one because we'll need 3 for the 2 recipes we're going to make. And then when I shopped my freezer, I pulled out a ham hock. This is from a pork I bought a long time ago, so I thought it'd be good to do some ham and beans, and I'll make some cornbread this week. I don't know what I'm going to do with this pork shoulder roast yet. I think I might braise it. We might make tacos. We might make, I don't know, maybe barbecue pulled pork because I do have some really, really good homemade, yes. So we're not going to do tacos with this pulled pork. I've decided we're going to do barbecue pulled pork, and I'll maybe make some homemade hamburger buns to go on that. And then this is the pumpkin that I thawed that I got out of the freezer. So let's get the steel cut oats. Let's get breakfast made because it's now 11:30. In our Instant Pot, I have 3 cups of steel cut oats. If you've never made steel cut oats in Instant Pot, it's my favorite way. And we are going to add 9 cups of water. So for every 1 cup of steel cut oats, the ratio is 3 cups of water in the Instant Pot. So that's 3, 4. I just turned my oven on to 400 degrees so we can get that warming to start cooking our spaghetti squash. I'm going to add 3 cups of pumpkin. And I wasn't perfect about getting some of the skins out, so I'm going to grab the skins off these pumpkins right now. I think this must have been a Blue Hubbard pumpkin because the skin's blue. This is homemade pumpkin pie spice. I'm going to add probably about 2.5 tablespoons. Some salt. And brown sugar. I'm not going to add all the brown sugar or all the sweetener to this because I want to top it with a little bit of maple syrup. All I'm going to do is mix this up. Make sure my vent's closed. Once it goes for 10 minutes, we're going to let it naturally release pressure, and that's done. So that is enough breakfast for Josh and I for the week. Hopefully I didn't make too much, but I really love steel cut oats. I personally prefer the texture of steel cut oats over oatmeal, so I'm pretty excited about this. All I'm doing to cook these is to cut them in half. I'm going to scrape the seeds out. Where there were the kind of like rough spots, I went ahead and I did decide to cut that off because on the inside they were starting to show just some darkening. Not bad, we'll just try to keep the highest quality stuff for us to eat. So I'm going to scrape out all the seeds, put them on my baking dish. I'm going to give these to the chickens today. They're going to love it. These are harder to scrape out. I haven't done this in a while. One thing that's really cool about growing spaghetti squash or winter squash in general is you don't have to worry about preserving it. It preserves itself as long as you eat them before they go bad. I need to do a better job at going through my pantry, and that's what this pantry challenge is helping me do, is making sure that I use things before they go bad, because, you know, I don't mind something going bad here or there, especially like a spaghetti squash, because I could give it to my chickens, but, you know, ideally I grew this food so Josh and I can eat it, you know? And so I want to be a good steward of that work and effort and time that I put into growing this food, and I want to enjoy it. These are all done. I'm going to give them a wash in the sink. I should have probably washed the spaghetti squash before I cut them, and then we're going to pop them in the oven. I'm getting ready to make the curry. I grabbed out of the freezer 2 packages of green beans. These green beans are, I let them get too mature, so they're a little bit tougher. I kind of let them grow on the vine too long. I can't remember if this is when we got back from Montana, and we were gone for 2 weeks out of the summer, and they got a little bit mature. They're still fine to eat, but they're not like that ideal green bean texture. Normally when I cook green beans, I don't like to cook them until they're really, really soft. I like them to have a little bit of crunch, but these need to cook in the curry for quite a bit of time. I want them to actually get very, very tender. Then I grabbed some garlic, and normally I don't add potatoes to my curry. It's not my favorite thing to add to curry, even though it is very traditional, but these potatoes are looking like they need to be eaten. They're pretty soft. They've been sitting in my walk-in pantry since I harvested them, I think in July. So it is time to get those washed up and used up. A lot of times I will wash my potatoes once, I'll peel them or I'll chop them if I leave the peels on, and then I like to rinse them one more time because I feel like when you're peeling them, you kind of get a little bit of dirt around them as you're peeling them. So we'll do that today. I like coconut oil when I make curry because I like the flavor of the coconut oil. It adds, it adds a sweetness that I think is fantastic. But if you don't have coconut oil, you could just use olive oil or whatever type of oil you like to use. And just like typical fashion, half of it ends up on the floor or on the stove. I want to get some good color on these, so I'm going to let these cook for a while. So while these are cooking, I'm going to cut up all the garlic. I'm going to do at least 1 whole head of garlic. And if I had fresh ginger, I would put fresh ginger in here, but I don't. And we are going to use the dried stuff today, which is just fine. If I can find it. Maybe it's in with the spices. For baking, oh yeah, this is ginger right here. I've been really enjoying how I organized my kitchen. If you watch that video where we did a huge deep clean and deep organizing, I can tell a big difference, and I'm really enjoying being in the kitchen that much more. I've always loved cooking, but my kitchen got so unorganized that it was a little bit stressful for me to be in here. And so I want to encourage you, if your kitchen is a disaster like mine was, if you have, you know, a couple hours, yeah, that's ginger, I just wanted to make sure, here or there to spend maybe just organizing one cupboard at a time, and you don't have like a whole day like I did to organize the whole thing. I want to encourage you to start, because you're going to enjoy being in the kitchen more if you know where everything is and it looks nice and it's just more organized. You're going to enjoy cooking so much more. The only thing is my husband doesn't know where I put everything, so he does most of the unloading of the dishwasher and the dishes. And so sometimes I can't find things just because he's not sure where they go, but we're slowly figuring that out. While the onions are caramelizing, because that takes a little bit of time, I went ahead and I took care of the chickens. And this is all done. This is beautiful. I'm going to give it a taste test. It's a little bit on the thin side because I doubled the pumpkin. But I knew that going into it because I wanted it a little bit on the thin side because when I put this in the refrigerator, it's going to continue to soak up moisture and it'll thicken up. Okay, let's give it a try. It's actually perfect. Wow, that is delicious. If you've never made steel cut oats, one, I'd highly recommend it, and two, I'd highly recommend doing it in the Instapot. When you do it on the stove, it takes a long time. You have to baby it so that it doesn't stick to the bottom. You have to stir, stir, stir. And this is wonderful. I love this. All right, we're gonna dish it up. These are the eggs I just collected and washed up. One of them has started laying these olive colored eggs, and then I have some brighter color ones, some pretty dark ones, and they're just stunning. I love them. One of the reasons I typically do baked oatmeal as opposed to like what I'm doing today with the steel cut oats is it uses up eggs. And because we have 11 chickens for just 2 of us, we need ways to use them up. So this got cooked down a little bit longer. I got distracted and it's not burnt. It's perfect. It's gonna be nice and sweet. And I forgot also that I have the spaghetti squash in there. I think that's almost done. It's been in there for almost 2 hours now. You might hear Josh in the background because he is working on getting the wood stove going. I'm gonna add some seasonings. We have cumin, coriander. I do have a recipe for this in the description box at scratchpantry.com, but I'm really bad about measuring, so I'm just gonna eyeball it. This is cinnamon, ginger, our garlic. Most of the flavor compounds in spices are fat soluble, meaning they dissolve out of the spice into fat. So if you are to put your spices directly into a watery liquid broth type thing, you're not gonna get the maximum flavor out of those spices. So that is why I put the spices in this onion coconut oil mixture so that we can extract the flavor compounds out of those spices and we can toast them and we can get the most flavor out of our food. You know, you paid for this spice. By toasting them in this oil on this pan, we are going to maximize that flavor, and it already smells incredible in here. And I realized I forgot to add the nutmeg, so we're gonna add the nutmeg in here while it's toasting. Now we're gonna add the red curry paste. I'm gonna add the whole jar. And we're gonna toast these as well. We're also going to add a whole jar of this roasted red chili paste. We're starting to get a fond on the bottom of the pot. That is all just delicious flavor. We're going to add 4 cans of coconut milk. These are full fat coconut milks. I'm going to try to scrape up that fond on the bottom of the pot using the coconut milk. I'm going to turn the stove down. We don't want that to burn. That's flavor there. If you've never cooked with coconut milk, there's always a kind of watery bit, and then there's the cream part. My house is cold, so it's solid. Sometimes if it's warmer, this is liquid. I'm going to put maybe 1/4 cup or so of peanut butter in there. And then we need to add a little bit of soy sauce. 3 splashes. I have not salted or seasoned this at all, so I'm going to have to do that in a minute, but I'm going to let it all cook and marry. It's going to thin out a little bit when that coconut milk melts, because it's still pretty cool in there. I'm gonna put the lid on it, and we've got a mess to clean up, so we're gonna clean up our mess. Now that I'm looking at this, I think I made a little bit too much oatmeal. I think if I was to do this again, it's been a long time since I've made steel cut oats, I would just do 2 cups for the 2 of us. I have no idea why there are pots and pans spewing out of my kitchen cupboards, but that is just real life. That is just what happens, I guess, in my kitchen. Josh just gave it the good old taste test and he approves.
When I cook my spaghetti squash, I have found that it cooks the best if you cook it cut side up. That way the steam can't evaporate when it's cooking in the oven. I have found if you cook it cut side down, it traps in all that moisture. And when you put your sauce over top of it, whatever type of sauce that might be, curry, marinara, cream sauce, whatever, the moisture that's trapped in there waters down and dilutes the flavor of your sauce. And it kind of doesn't taste super great. It's definitely been a game changer cooking it this way, and both my husband and I definitely prefer it.
Our green beans cooked down so they're nice and tender. Our potatoes are tender, and this is going to be just a wonderful dinner. It's going to be so comforting and warming. Good morning. For breakfast this morning, I thought I'd make a smoothie. We have blueberries and raspberries from the garden and a bunch of zucchini. I made these zucchinis into little pucks for smoothies so they would be easier to blend up in my blender. I found some of this pineapple juice in the freezer that needs to be used up, so I put a scoop of that into my blender along with a big heaping scoop of these collagen peptides, and then I'm just filling it with some water. I don't have smoothies very often, but this just sounded really good this morning. This is probably going to be my breakfast and lunch, so I'll see you back here when I make some dinner for us. Hey friends, it is Tuesday afternoon, and yesterday we just ate leftovers the whole day other than that smoothie you saw me make, so I didn't film anything. I kind of hit a wall yesterday and I was tired, so leftovers it was for dinner, and that's why I like to have extra food in the refrigerator, so if I don't want to cook, I don't feel the need to cook, we can still eat and we don't have to worry about getting takeout. But it is 2:30 right now. I'm taking a little bit of a break because my house is really warm. I just stocked the fire, and we are gonna have pulled pork for dinner tonight, and we are gonna have 1 hour dinner rolls. These are my favorite 1 hour dinner rolls, and I thought that would be good with the pulled pork so we can kind of make a pulled pork sandwich. So we need to get going on that. I also, since I have time and I'm in the kitchen this afternoon, I'm gonna go ahead and prep dinner for tomorrow. So tomorrow all I'm gonna have to do is put it in the oven. That is gonna be the spaghetti squash, chicken, it's actually turkey, broccoli baked. So let's get going on these 1 hour dinner rolls first because these need to rise. In my stand mixer, I have water. This recipe typically uses milk and water, but I don't have any fresh milk in my refrigerator right now. We used all of that. I have plenty of it in the freezer, but it's frozen. So that's why I like to keep powdered milk on hand. So in here now, we have our water and our milk. So I'm just gonna whisk that together a little bit. Using the powdered milk is perfect for this challenge because I have it in my pantry. I am putting in 2 tablespoons of butter. Now I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of honey. Mix that in to kind of have that honey dissolve. 1 tablespoon of active dry yeast and a teaspoon of salt. We're gonna add our flour. We're gonna start with 3½ cups. I just reread my own recipe, and I was supposed to let the yeast proof for 10 minutes with the water and honey before I put it in here, but I didn't do that, so this should turn out just fine, no problem, but read the recipe, definitely. This has been kneading for 5 minutes. I'm going to take it off the dough hook. It wasn't stuck to the sides, it was in a ball. It is a little bit soft, which is what you want. You don't want it too dry, because then your bread will turn out dry. It's a beautiful soft dough. This is a little avocado oil. This just helps it prevent the dough from drying out. We're gonna cover it with a damp cloth, and we're gonna put it right here by the wood stove to rise. We're gonna make a rub for our pork. I have salt in my bowl. I'm gonna add garlic powder, cumin, oregano, chipotle, paprika, cinnamon, coriander, and onion powder. We're gonna mix this to combine, and then we're gonna rub this all over our pork shoulder. This is a pork shoulder from a pastured pig that I ordered, I don't know, a while ago. So it's definitely good that we're using it today. I think this is gonna be delicious. I'm just patting it dry, and we're gonna use all of this rub. Maybe it's too much rub. I don't know. And our heavily seasoned pork shoulder. I just looked up how long the pork needs to go into the Instapot for, and it says 40 minutes. So I'm going to do 50 because I want to make sure it's done the first time. I am not in the mood to have to re-pressurize this and recook it. So now that we have our rolls going, we have our pork going for dinner, we need to get our spaghetti squash bake all ready to go so I can plop that in the oven tomorrow. This is going to be super easy to put together because I already prepped the spaghetti squash. The turkey is from when I cooked up that whole turkey. I got this at Butcher Box. If you guys are interested in Butcher Box, I'm super happy with the quality of the meat, and I'll link them down below. But I got a free turkey when I ordered my first box, and so this was already pre-cooked in the freezer. I love to have pre-cooked meat in the freezer, so when I want to do dishes like this, I can throw it together really easily. This is a low-carb recipe. I have 1 block of cream cheese, and this is some homemade sour cream. The recipe calls for Greek yogurt, but I don't have any of that right now, so I'm going to add the sour cream, and then I'm going to add a little bit of half and half because that's all I have right now, and just to thin that out a little bit to create more of a sauce texture. If I had milk, I would probably use milk to thin this out. And then we're going to season with seasoned salt. This recipe is linked down below. And I have freeze-dried Parmesan cheese, but you could just use whatever you have, if you have fresh or if you have the shaky kind. My new favorite thing, freeze-dried Parmesan cheese. Whoop, too much. That is mozzarella cheese. We have our mixture, and it looks fantastic. I tried to be really careful not to just completely pull apart the spaghetti squash or the turkey. We're going to put it in our casserole dish. We're going to top with a little bit more mozzarella, and that is dinner for tomorrow. I'm going to make a coleslaw to go along with our pulled pork. This is a cabbage that I've had in my refrigerator for 6 weeks. If you want to start to learn how to go to the grocery store less, knowing what produce can hold in your refrigerator for a long time is one of the easiest ways if you want to make sure you still have fresh produce.
I have found things like zucchini, cucumber, fresh herbs, and lettuce last about a week and a half in the refrigerator. I can get peppers, broccoli, and cauliflower to last about 2 weeks, especially if I don't buy the pre-chopped broccoli and cauliflower. I found that those do not last as long in the refrigerator. And I can easily get broccoli, rutabaga, turnips, cabbage, and those types of things to last, carrots, easily a month in my refrigerator.
I have it really close to the wood stove, so that has about doubled in size. So let's get these rolled out.
To shape the rolls, it couldn't be any easier. I just take a roll and I start rolling it in my hands. You can do it this way, but if you do it this way, it is going to take just a little bit longer to roll to get a nice smooth top. You really want a really smooth top. Basically what you're doing is you're trying to organize those gluten strands in the bread. So another way you can do it to make it a little bit faster with not having to roll it on the counter as much as you can do what I'm seeing here. I'm taking the smooth side and I'm inverting all the dough into the bottom of it, and then I can roll it on the counter, and it just doesn't take as long to do that. But I do it both ways. It doesn't really matter as long as you are working toward getting a nice smooth top.
We're gonna make the salad dressing for the coleslaw. When I put avocados in my cart, last time I did a grocery pickup, I thought I selected 4 avocados, but I actually selected 4 bags of avocados. So I've had avocados in my refrigerator for 6 weeks now. Now I'm gonna add seasoned salt. Avocados always need a lot of salt. So I'm gonna add 3 of these. They're like half teaspoon sizes. I normally make my own homemade mayonnaise, but I bought this for a recipe, so I wanna use it up. So we're gonna add a little bit of that, not a lot. Then we're gonna use some of our pickled onions. I'm gonna use the vinegar because that's got a lot of flavor in it. And we're gonna put in some of the onions. I did not fully think that through because pink and green kind of make a brown color. So even though these avocados weren't brown, there is a slight brownness to it, but I think once it's in the cabbage, you won't be able to tell. That is fantastic. Wow. Perfect balance of creaminess to onion to vinegar. Wow, that is really good. Now we're just gonna get this salad dressing on the coleslaw, and basically dinner's done. All we have to do is pull the pork and bake the rolls. That pork was not done, so I just put it in for another 60 minutes. These have doubled in size. Now we need to put an egg wash on them. I was sitting by the fire and forgot to set a timer, and they are done. I'm glad I checked them when I did. These look perfect, maybe a little bit overcooked, but we'll enjoy them. This is real life, and I think my Instapot is not working. I ran it on 2 cycles of 60 minutes, and the meat is still tough. The vent is closed and the button's up, and you can see it's releasing pressure. So I think I need to get a new ring. If you guys have any suggestions for me, please let me know, because this is gonna go on 3 hours worth of cooking, and we'll see if it's done after that. So Josh is fixing my gasket because that's what the problem is with my Instapot, but it is finely tender, so you can see how it just kind of pulls apart. After all that, we have dinner. Here is the rolls with the pulled pork and the homemade barbecue sauce and the coleslaw. And then I got out some strawberry jam in case Josh wants to have some of these rolls for dessert. Hey friends, it is Wednesday, and this is why I did prep and I don't have to cook anything today because it has been a busy day. I'm gonna throw this spaghetti squash casserole right into the refrigerator, right into the oven. It's 350 degrees. We're gonna let that cook probably 45 to 30 minutes. The reason I am so grateful I did that yesterday is because I decided I was gonna make a ton of dog treats. We have here a ton of dog biscuits, and in the freeze dryer, I just put in a bunch of liver and heart. So if you want to see how that turns out, stay tuned. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe, because this is going to be a really fun video of learning how to make dog treats. Not only am I doing dog treats today, but I am also making or rendering beef tallow. I have a ton of tallow in the freezer. It's time to get that tallow out of the freezer. So we are rendering that down. Tallow is beef fat, lard is pork fat. So I'll show you what our casserole looks like when it comes out. It is Friday night, and my husband has a friend coming over, and I'm going to hang out with a friend tonight. We were going to do leftovers, but I figured since he was having a friend over, I'm going to make them pizza. I had 3 of these sausages. These are pineapple something sausages from Costco, and they're fantastic. So I had 3 that were frozen, so I grabbed these out of the freezer. I grabbed some red peppers that I just let thaw for maybe an hour or 2 on the counter, and we're going to do red onion. That's my husband's favorite combination, pepper, sausage, and onion. and we're gonna get this pizza made up. And then obviously mozzarella cheese, and I almost forgot the most important thing, home canned pizza sauce that I made. This is 2020.
This is a new pizza dough recipe for me. Normally I have a pizza dough recipe, which is on the blog, but I wanted to try using my no-knead bread recipe for pizza dough, and that's what I did. And I'm not even the one cooking this, so I'm not sure exactly how it's going to turn out, but I'll let you know. I normally would bake my pizza in cast iron, but my husband is going to be responsible for cooking it. And normally I put the cast irons in the oven, I heat them up, and then I transfer the pizza onto the cast iron. But I didn't want him to have to try to worry about that, so I just cooked it on a cookie sheet this time.
We're going skiing tomorrow, so I need to package up some food to do that. I'm going to package up some oranges, and we still have oranges. I'm going to bring some more of those granola bars that I brought last time we went skiing. Those are my favorite to take skiing, I've told you that. And whatever they don't eat from this pizza, I'm hoping they don't eat it all, then I'm going to bring that for lunch. So we should have plenty of food to get us onto the ski slope, which will be great. You know, I probably only needed 2 sausages for this pizza, but I don't feel like putting just 1 sausage into the refrigerator. So it's going to be a very sausagey pizza, which will be good because it'll fill them up a little bit more tonight, and hopefully they don't eat quite so much. And then tomorrow we'll need that protein for skiing. This is going to be a very loaded pizza. Like I said, I probably would normally only put about half these toppings on here, but I want to try to get them nice and full tonight so they don't eat all the pizza, so we have enough to bring for lunch. I'm going to put this pizza in the refrigerator. It is 12:26 right now. I'm going to tell my husband as soon as he gets home, put it on the counter for a half an hour, 45 minutes or so that it can come up to room temperature. When you put really cold dough in the oven, I don't feel like it bakes as well. It bakes better at room temperature. I'm going to tell him to bake it at about 400 degrees. I'm going to tell him check it at 15 minutes, check it at 20 minutes, check it at 30 minutes. I have no idea how long it's going to take. And so that is dinner tonight for them. I am excited to go hang out with some friends tonight, and I will see you tomorrow. I might be completely crazy, but I decided I'm going to attempt to make Pop-Tarts. I could not sleep last night. I probably didn't fall asleep till 2 a.m. and I was out of bed at 8. So I have been busy in the kitchen all day. I finished the dog treats and I finished rendering the tallow. That's what that is over there that you saw earlier. I made the pizza. What else did I do? Oh, I started getting my seed starting stuff clean because it's been a disaster. And I was gonna go edit a video. I'm not gonna edit a video. I'm tired. I'm tired. And you know where my favorite place to be is in the kitchen. I was actually sitting upstairs by reading your comments about what copycat recipes or Becky scratch made recipes should we do, because we had a lot of fun when we did the Oreos and goldfish. I want that to be a series. And one of them was a Pop-Tart. And I have a couple, which I just put in the oven. Probably not the best idea, but I put some frozen pie crust just in the oven with the light on to help them get a little bit thawed, because what a Pop-Tart basically is it's pie pastry filled with a jam. And these have been in my freezer too long. And this pantry challenge, we're using up things in our freezer. We are eventually going to do a whole Pop-Tart toaster strudel making event, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to take this slightly freezer burned pie pastry and turn it into Pop-Tarts. I have the oven preheated to 400 degrees. I'm washing them with an egg wash, and I'm trying to decide if I should put vent holes in them. I'll just put one. I don't know if this is a good idea. I think they turned out pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with them. We're gonna bring these skiing with us tomorrow, and that will be a nice little treat. It's Josh and I and some friends that go skiing together, so. I would say not too bad for basically 10 minutes of my time. If that, the part that took the longest was getting the pie crust soft enough for me to roll out. But I already had the jam made, I already had the pie crust made, and now I have something super impressive, super delicious, and way healthier. I mean, there is sugar in it. Way healthier than, you know, a store-bought Pop-Tart. That is how you can get scratch made, is by having things like that in your pantry, in your freezer, so you can whip something up super impressive for hardly any time at all. I'm gonna get these on a drying rack and I'll see you tomorrow. I decided I should probably give this a try so you guys know what this is like, because we're gonna eat these on the mountain tomorrow. I think I'm gonna eat I'm gonna try a strawberry one since I have the most of those, even though I think these are gonna be my husband's favorite. Mmm. Friends, please do yourself a favor and try these. Please, 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 please. Delicious. Mmm. Buttery. Mmm. Just the right amount of salt. I must have put a good amount of salt in that crust because there's no salt. Oh, there is salt in the jam, but the jam is not that salty. So this is giving me, look at the bottom. Nice and dark. No soggy bottoms around here. I gotta stop eating this, but this is so good. Okay. I have to text my husband. He's not supposed to eat any of these because they're for tomorrow. Minus the one that I already ate. He can finish that one, of course. I mean, he can't eat them. He's a grown man and can make his own decisions. But I think that it would be good that if we had these for skiing tomorrow. So thank you again for hanging out with me, friends. You're a blessing, and I'll see you tomorrow.
This is Josh taking the pizza out. I think he cooked it perfectly. We both really enjoyed this crust. I'm definitely going to make this no knead bread crust again because it was so easy.
Good morning, friends. It's Sunday. Saturday we were out of the house all day. We took the Pop-Tart / hand pies for breakfast yesterday on the way up to the mountain, and then we had pizza for lunch, which was perfect. I think I'm going to start doing that for skiing, bringing pizza, because it just made it so easy. And then when we got back, we had some leftover curry. I decided I'm going to make us some breakfast sandwiches because I have two of, let's see, this is probably not hot yet, the rolls left from when we made the rolls. I just put a little bit of cheddar cheese on there. I put them in the broiler so that they can warm up. And then I took some of that bacon that we made that I had in the freezer. I put it on the bottom of the pan and I cracked an egg on top of it. For lunch, we have more of the spaghetti squash casserole. So we're gonna have that, and then dinner tonight. I don't have to cook. We're going to my father-in-law's for dinner. And that ends week, is this week 3? Yeah, week 3 of the Pantry Challenge. It is still not quite a challenge yet. I think next week it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. Next week is going to be the week of the potato. I have some potatoes that are sprouting some eyes. We are going to be making a ton of gnocchis. We're going to preserve potatoes up in a couple different ways, and I'm pretty excited about it because if I leave them in my pantry, they're going to go bad, and I don't want them to go bad because they were homegrown, and I don't want that effort to go to waste. I'm going to put week 2 and week 1 of the Pantry Challenge. If you're new and you missed those weeks, you can go enjoy those over there. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you're new. Thank you for hanging out with me all week as we made a bunch of fun recipes. I hope you guys are having a great week. I hope if you're participating in the Pantry Challenge, it's going well for you as well. And I'm pretty excited for week 4 because we've got a lot of really fun recipes we're going to be making together. And I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, guys.